politica, c'est la
Moi, je suis une politique.
c'est la plus politique. C'est républicain. Parce que le politique se fait élire
Je sais pas. J'écoutais ça hier. Je me disais, ah, ok, c'est drôle de le présenter comme un badge d'honneur. Moi, je suis politique.
Lui, c'est un très bon fonctionnaire.
Ouais, c'était pas la première fois qu'elle disait ça. Elle avait déjà dit à. Ah oui, ok.
On va faire un très bon on a fait partie parce qu'il s'en allait devenir un ministre des Finances. Embauché les je sais pas. Ouais, de 50 000 aussi. Ça sert à rien d'avoir joué. John Manley a écrit en fin de semaine. John Manley.
Non?
Pourquoi on reviendrait de 51e? On se dit, c'est pas mal. 17 ans. Pourquoi ce serait les États-Unis d'Amérique? Ça, les États-Unis. Puis en passant, on a un super bon système de santé. On aimerait l'emmener chez vous, si vous voulez, ça va vous coûter moins cher. Oui, en passant, le système électoral est un petit peu meilleur que le vôtre. Ah, puis en passant, genre, il fait des points positifs du Canada. Puis dans le fond, vous seriez un meilleur pays pour vous si vous venir ça ensemble. Imaginez un beau drapeau, les 13 lignes blanches et rouges avec le fond bleu, puis un beau petit drapeau du Canada. Des belles petites feuilles d'érable.
Des feuilles d'érable au milieu des étoiles.
60 feuilles d'érable.
Arpent des neiges au lieu de l'aigle à tête blanche. Il a écrit la lettre ouverte dans le blog.
Ouais, c'est ça.
Ah, ils sont les deux sont là.
He said that 3 minutes ago.
Did they know?
I'll believe it.
They would not dare.
Goes fast, though.
Told me 3 to 5 minutes.
down. Heads up, guys. This is happening? It's actually happening. I swear. They said coming down. I am putting my name on the line that they're going to be here within the next 24 hours. I might have a trade question. I might ask him. Anything we gather is going to be from all over the world. And he has another somebody's name.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hi everybody. Ça me fait plaisir de vous voir. Contente d'être ici aussi avec mon collègue et ami David McGinty. So we just came out of another very important Canada-US meeting, and our two objectives were the same. First, to work on preventing tariffs, and second, working also on our response, should there be tariffs. When it comes to the first point on preventing tariffs, first and foremost, our objective is to make sure that we prevent tariffs, and we believe that we can do so. How can we do so? We will continue to engage with our different American counterparts. I'll be heading to Washington to meet Marco Rubio on Wednesday, and also I'll be in contact, and I've been in contact with Tom Homan, the border czar of President Trump. David and I are having conversations with Tom Homan shortly. And we know that President Trump has been referring a lot to the border. Again, we have a very good border plan. It is being implemented, and David will be able to talk to you about the latest on this front. When it comes to our trade relationship also, of course, we know that the U.S. has a surplus with us. If we don't take into account our energy exports, which are driven by the U.S. demand. So at this point, the trade surplus that the U.S. has with us is around $60 billion, which includes goods and services. We are the largest export market for 36 states of the United States, and we're still the biggest customer to the U.S. So Canada is the biggest customer to the U.S. So that's for the first point, which is preventing tariffs. When it comes to the second point of our response, we will be ready for day one. And we've been saying that, and we are ready. I'll be talking this week to the British Foreign Minister. I'll be also talking to key European foreign ministers. I've been in constant contact with also my Mexican counterpart. And our objective, as I said, has been and will continue to be to prevent tariffs. So, je vais juste parler en français et après je passe la parole à David. Une autre rencontre importante du Comité Canada-États-Unis. On travaille sur deux aspects. Premièrement, le fait de prévenir des tarifs. Deuxièmement, sur notre réponse si jamais il y avait des tarifs. Donc, concernant le fait de prévenir les tarifs, premier point, je m'en vais à Washington et j'aurai l'occasion de rencontrer mon homologue, le secrétaire d'État américain Marco Rubio, mercredi. Et David et moi sommes en contact avec la personne en charge des frontières pour le président Trump. Son nom, c'est Tom Homan, et nous aurons des conversations avec lui également. Le président Trump a continué de référer à la sécurité à la frontière canado-américaine. Nous avons un bon plan. Il est présentement en train d'être mis en œuvre et David va pouvoir vous en parler dans quelques secondes. Si on regarde aussi la relation commerciale avec les États-Unis, si on ne tient pas compte des exportations d'énergie du Canada vers les États-Unis qui sont essentiellement liées à la demande des Américains, on a en effet les Américains ont un surplus commercial avec nous d'environ 60 milliards de dollars. Nous sommes le marché d'exportation le plus important pour 36 États américains et également, nous sommes le plus grand acheteur de produits et services américains. Si on regarde aussi le deuxième point, qui est notre réponse, bien, en fait, on va être prêt dès le jour 1. Je l'ai déjà mentionné, le premier ministre l'a mentionné, le ministre des Finances également. Et cette semaine, je vais avoir l'occasion de parler à mon homologue britannique et également à des ministres des Affaires étrangères de la France et quelques différents pays européens. Et je suis en contact constant avec le ministre des Affaires étrangères mexicain également. Donc, notre objectif est encore et toujours de pouvoir prévenir les tarifs et nous y travaillons tous les jours. David, après toi.
Merci beaucoup. Good morning, everyone. So our objective, as the minister has just said, is to prevent any kind of tariffs forthcoming from the United States administration. And so we're working very hard, of course, in my case, on the question of the border. It's important for Canadians to understand a few things about the border we have with the United States. The first thing to keep in mind is it's a very strong border. It's one that's evolved over 150 years of relationship. It remains the longest undefended border in the world, and we intend to try to keep it that way. I think our American colleagues share the same view. The plan that we are implementing is multifaceted. It involves political outreach, official outreach, and operational outreach. So clearly, I'll be meeting with, eventually, for example, the new Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Ms. Nome. We'll be talking to Tom Homan, we expect this week. At the same time, we have officials who are in and out of Washington, D.C., working with our American counterparts. And operationally, the CBSA and the RCMP are in constant touch with their counterpart organizations in the United States. So we're making huge progress. This plan is a plan which is, of course, international between Canada and the United States, but it's also a plan between different orders of government in this country. We've reached out to and engaged every single province in the country. They are engaged in the case of Alberta, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Quebec. They're making, for example, some of their police authorities available. Police of local jurisdiction are helping us on the border. This is a very, very good thing, and they should be commended for doing so, because it really is a Team Canada response. We're working, for example, on the question of fentanyl. It's important for Canadians to remember, less than 1% of all fentanyl entering the United States is coming from Canada. Less than 1% of illegal immigration into the United States is coming from Canada. So we are tightening up even further our border to deal with some of these challenges. And as I say, it's a federal, provincial relationship and partnership. It's an interagency partnership. It's a bilateral partnership. And we've seen huge progress in the last 3 to 4 months. So we are continuing to make progress on the implementation of this plan. As I say, it's multifaceted. Donc, pour répéter quelques mots en français, nous avons un plan. La frontière est très robuste, elle est très forte présentement, et nous sommes en train de la renforcer. C'est une question d'amener des mesures pratiques, la mise en œuvre de mesures pratiques. Il y a un plan qui touche évidemment le Canada, en coopération avec nos provinces, avec le fédéral, avec nos agences dans le fédéral et avec évidemment les États-Unis. Nous avons un plan de 3 phases ou 3 éléments, des liens politiques, des liens officiels et des liens opérationnels. Donc, nous sommes en train de poursuivre cette mise en œuvre. Nous voyons déjà des bons résultats, mais il y a encore du travail à faire parce que, comme le ministre a bien annoncé et a répété, l'intention, c'est d'empêcher les tarifs provenant des États-Unis pour que le Canada puisse continuer. C'est important de se rappeler que nous avons une frontière qui n'est pas défendu par nos militaires. C'est quelque chose qu'on a depuis 150 ans dans ce pays avec les États-Unis et nous avons l'intention, et je pense aussi les États-Unis ont l'intention de continuer avec cette même approche. Merci.
Merci.
À propos des tarifs et des représailles,
Oui, vas-y, Christian.
quel serait l'avantage ou le désavantage de mettre la liste publique maintenant ou une partie de la liste publique maintenant pour agir un petit peu en contre-pression à ce qu'a fait Donald Trump? Est-ce que vous songez à mettre d'avant une liste déjà publique maintenant?
Oui. Pour nous, ce qui est important, c'est de faire le travail dans les coulisses, au niveau diplomatique, pour justement assurer qu'il n'y ait pas de tarifs. Et nous pensons que c'est la meilleure façon de le faire. La diplomatie, des fois, a un plus grand impact lorsqu'elle est privée et discrète. Alors, on s'organise, on est bien en tant qu'équipe Canada, mais en même temps, notre objectif est de passer les messages sans nécessairement négocier sur la place publique.
Est-ce que ça marche
So,
même avec
I'll
Donald Trump?
just answer in French. When it comes to preventing tariffs, this is our number one priority, and we're working at it every day. Now, we believe that diplomacy can work, and that's why we're having private conversations, and we won't negotiate in front of the public. We believe that our arguments are strong. I think that I've had numerous conversations where the reaction was actually very positive, but meanwhile, there's still a lot of work. This administration in the U.S. is very unpredictable, so we have to be ready and working on both fronts. Like I was saying, preventing tariffs and at the same time working on our response.
On the question of CUSMA, is your government open to renegotiating CUSMA to address some of the trade concerns President Trump has raised?
So the executive order that President Trump signed was clear, which was referring to the date of the renegotiation of CUSMA based on what's written actually in the treaty. And so, in that context, we're doing two things. We're working on the executive order, which was signed, which was a study to make sure that the federal agencies in the U.S. would study the trade relationship between Canada and the U.S., and that study would be until April 1st. That was the first thing that was mentioned in the executive order. My department, Mary Ying's department, the Department of Finance are all working on that, and we're working with the ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman. The other thing that is also written in the executive order is referring to the renegotiation of NAFTA, which is in 2026. And we are also putting our teams at work to make sure that we're ready for that too. Yes,
Minister
David?
McGuinty? Minister McGuinty, could I just ask you about Chandra area, just your colleague? Are you surprised, given what you know as the former NSICOP chair, that Mr. Aria's candidacy did not survive review by the
I don't know the
Liberal Party
details surrounding this. That question's better put to the Liberal Party of Canada, its executive and its executive director. I saw the announcement, and I really have no other insight or comment.
Moi, j'ai un point de vue sur ce que M. Chandra avait dit au niveau du bilinguisme, et moi, je tiens à vous dire que pour moi, c'est fondamental que le prochain chef du Parti libéral puisse parler en français et en anglais. En tant que francophone, pour moi, je pense que je représente la voix des francophones au pays, et nos attentes étaient extrêmement élevées, et ces commentaires étaient complètement inacceptables. Oui.
Vous allez rencontrer des dirigeants, vous avez dit, européens, mexicains. Quel est l'objectif derrière ça? Est-ce que c'est de faire front commun contre M. Trump? Puis j'ai une question sur Gaza après.
OK. Donc, c'est clair qu'au cœur de mes conversations avec mon collègue britannique et mes collègues aussi européens va être la question de la réponse aux tarifs. Ça fait partie de nos conversations parce que le président Trump a parlé de tarifs pas seulement pour le Canada et les États-Unis et la Chine, mais tout au long de la campagne électorale, il a parlé des tarifs sur le monde, et ça inclut nécessairement les Européens. Alors, on est très, très pragmatique. Notre approche est de pouvoir être coordonnée. On a une entente de libre-échange avec l'Europe qui est très, très importante, et ça fait partie de notre vision de diversifier nos marchés. Donc, c'est pour ça que ces conversations-là vont être vraiment très importantes. So, just in English, it is clear that we have to be extremely pragmatic when it comes to working with Europeans and also with Britain with the UK on this. President Trump has referred to using tariffs against the world in the context of the electoral campaign. And so that's why we know that in many European capitals and also in the UK, the conversation is ongoing on how to deal in terms of retaliation and what could be different responses to tariffs. So that's why it is important for us to be able to talk to these different foreign ministers. It is my job to coordinate the response. And not only that, we have a very important free trade agreement with Europe, and we want to continue to make sure that Canadians and Canadian businesses can benefit from it.
On what you just saw happen with Colombia and President Trump, where he threatened tariffs, seems to have negotiated some kind of deal, and then he promised tariffs, and then that tariff threat came off. Did you learn anything, or did the cabinet learn anything about how Trump is wielding this tariff threat right now?
For us, we're looking at what is our approach, which is basically preventing tariffs and also making sure that we're ready. And we know that President Trump is using tariffs as a way to put pressure on countries. That's what he's doing, and that will continue. Meanwhile, we have leverage. We have also different levers. We are the biggest customer to the U.S. We are the biggest customer in 36 countries, 36 states within the U.S. So there are lots of allies in the U.S. and also in Washington, and that's why we're doing the work, to make sure that ultimately we're able to get to a win-win situation. That's why we're addressing the concerns regarding the border, which is really important, and that we should never forget that this is a priority. It is a priority for us because we believe that we have to stop any form of illegal guns coming from the U.S. and also any form of irregular migration coming from the U.S. And meanwhile, we'll continue to do the work on making sure that ultimately facts prevail, particularly when it comes to the fact that the U.S. has a trade surplus with Canada when we exclude energy exports from Canada.
So Canada is willing to begin early renegotiation
Sorry.
of CUSMA? Canada is willing to begin early renegotiation of CUSMA?
I didn't mention that. What I said is that the executive order already specifies that there is a process that prepares for eventually that renegotiation, which is set in 2026. So it's just my job, meanwhile, is to make sure that we have a good trade relationship, and we will be ready because at the end of the day, facts prevail, may be on the question of the overall trade relationship, which is through the free trade agreement, but also on preventing tariffs.
Just to clarify, are you open to reviewing this or in renegotiating it earlier, in 2025 instead of 2026? Are you open? What is the Government of Canada's position on that question?
What we learned about the CUSMA negotiation at the time was it is important to have process in place. We now have a process. The process is through the executive order, and we'll participate in that process. Thank you.
What are they looking for?
Parliamentarians who've been unwittingly or wittingly targeted by foreign interference. What do you think are the pros and cons of that coming out publicly?
I look forward to seeing what the Commissioner has to say tomorrow in her review. I'm told it's an extremely comprehensive piece of work, and it will be good. I think I hope we see a way forward pointed by the Commissioner and her team on how we can make progress with a very, very difficult situation and a very difficult phenomena. By the way, one which the United States of America is facing, which every Western democracy is facing. So I'm hoping there are many good recommendations for improvement that are forthcoming.
Quelles sont justement vos attentes par rapport au rapport?
On verra. J'aurai la chance de lire le rapport demain matin.
Should the report name names? Should the report?
En français, pouvez-vous être plus détaillé, s'il vous plaît, sur ce qui vous intéresse dans ce que le rapport...
Bien évidemment, comment procéder avec l'ingérence étrangère quand ça touche à nos processus démocratiques, comment la réforme de partis politiques aiderait la situation à non seulement protéger les partis, mais aussi d'augmenter la confiance des Canadiens et des Canadiennes dans notre système, de revoir exactement ce qu'elle veut dire au sujet des élections de 2019-2021. There are many, many good things that I think we're going to see tomorrow from this review, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll have more to say about it tomorrow. Thank you very much.
And I just, on the question of,
Une question sur Gaza?
oui, mais un instant, ça sera pas long. So I've answered that question in French regarding Chandra Arya. What I said in French is, for me as a francophone, I thought that what he was saying regarding francophones across the country was unacceptable, and I expect the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada to be fully bilingual, because we are in a bilingual country, we are the party of official bilingualism, and it is at the core of our DNA. Thank you.
Leader.